Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody around the world. Welcome, dear students, wherever you are. Welcome to your new English YouTube channel and classes. English course level 1 A1, lesson 38. Before we start our lesson, I wish you happy holidays. By the end of this mini lesson 38 part 3, you will have focused on noun learns and practice the following objective. WH words questions and answers in present simple with verb speak or to speak with subject pronouns he and she. WH questions are questions starting with WH words including what, when, where, who, which, why, and how. So now we are going to repeat the meaning of these words because some students, they need to repeat the meaning in order to understand it very well. So we use where when we ask about places. We use when we ask about time. We use who when we want to ask about a person or people. We use how in questions when we want to ask about the method or the manner. We use what in questions to ask about things. We use why when we want to ask about a reason. We use which when we have a choice to make, to choose between two things. We use how many when we want to ask about the number. We use how much when we want to ask about the price or the quantity. Let's continue. WH questions rules in present simple. So we have WH word plus does plus subject. The subject in this lesson is just he and she, plus verb plus complement. Answers rules in present simple. So when we want to answer, we write the subject he or she plus verb plus s. So don't forget the s plus the complement. We have he speaks English. She speaks English. Let's continue. We have, this is the rule, WH does he speak. So in the question, the verb doesn't take s. We don't say, for example, why does he speaks? No, why does he speak? And the answer, yes. In the positive sentence, we need to put an s to the verb. He speaks. And the second one, why does she speak English? So the verb speak in the question doesn't take s, because even if we have he and she and it. But in the positive sentence, it must take an s. She speaks. Let's continue. Why does Darwin speak? So Darwin, it means he, a man or a boy. So he speaks. The second why, second question, why does Julia speak? So Julia is a girl or a woman, so she speaks. Why does the doctor speak? So the doctor can be he or she, a man or a woman. So he speaks, she speaks. We notice from these examples that in the question the verb doesn't take s with he, she, it, because it's a question, because we have the word does. And in the positive sentence with he, she, or a man, so or a woman, so the verb must take an s. Let's continue. Pay attention to open questions. So as I explained in the previous lessons, we have two types of questions in English. We have open questions. So the open questions always start with what, where, who, how, why, when, which. In these types of questions, you can't answer just with yes or no. So we answer yes or no in closed questions. But in open questions, you should give a full and complete sentence. So subject plus verb plus complement. Let's see the first example. What language does he speak? So when we say he, it means a man or a boy. What language does he speak? So we are going to say he is James. James speaks Italian. Another person, he speaks French. Simon speaks German. He speaks Chinese. So we notice from these 4 examples that James, the verb take is because he. James, it means he. He speaks. James speaks. And we have also Simon speaks. So if you write James speak Italian, it's not correct. So remember that with a person or with subject pronoun he, so the verb must take an S. James speaks Italian. He speaks French. Simon speaks German. He speaks Chinese. Let's go to the next slide. In the next slide we have what language does she speak? So we are speaking about a woman or a girl. So in the first example, Claudia speaks Japanese. So Claudia means she. Claudia speaks Japanese. Another girl or woman, she speaks English. The third example, Elizabeth speaks Portuguese. The last example, she speaks Arabic. If you write Claudia speaks Japanese, it's not correct. So Claudia speaks Japanese. She speaks English. Elizabeth speaks Portuguese. She speaks Arabic. So from this slide and the previous slide, we noticed that with he or she or a man or a woman, the verb must take an S. This is what you should learn from this lesson. So in present simple, with he, she, and with a person, a man or a woman, so the verb must take an S. Let's see more examples. What languages does she speak? Anna speaks Chinese and Japanese. Another woman, she speaks Arabic and French. Jessica speaks English and Arabic. She speaks German and Arabic. Let's continue. What languages does he speak? Redwan speaks French and English. He speaks Italian and Spanish. Walid speaks Portuguese and Spanish. He speaks Japanese and English. Let's go to the next slide. Where does she speak English? Georgina speaks English in her country, the United States. She speaks English in her country, Canada. Julia speaks English in her country, Australia. Let's go to the next slide. Where does he speak English? Silas speaks English in his country, England. He speaks English in his country, Scotland. He speaks English in his country, Wales. Let's continue. Where does she speak English? Sarah speaks English at university. She speaks English at home with a private teacher. Nawal speaks English at a language school. She speaks English to her friends online. Let's continue. Where does he speak English? Ali speaks English at the American Center in Paris. He speaks English at the British Center in London. Ashraf speaks English at English local school, at an English local school. So we have N missing, at an English local school. He speaks English at college. Let's continue. When does he speak to his parents? Yahya speaks to his parents every Sunday. He speaks to his parents on Sundays. So every Sunday means on Sundays. Hafid speaks to his parents on Fridays. It means every Friday. He speaks to his parents 3 times a week. Let's go to the next slide. When does she speak to her parents? Emma speaks to her parents 7 times a week. It means every day. She speaks to her parents at the weekend. So the weekend depends on every country. In some countries the weekend is Friday and Saturday, and in other countries the weekend is Saturday and Sunday. Sophia speaks to her parents once a month. It means 1 time a month. She speaks to her parents twice a year, 2 times a year. Let's continue. Why does he speak English very well? John speaks English very well because he is English. He speaks English very well because he was born in England. Adam speaks English very well because he was born in the US, in the United States, in the US. He speaks English very well because he was born in Australia. Let's continue. Why does she speak English fluently? So fluently means very well, without problems. Eva speaks English fluently because she was born in Scotland. She speaks English fluently because her father is English. Lucy speaks English fluently because her mother is English. When does she speak to herself? Susanna speaks to herself when she has problems. She speaks to herself as she doesn't trust anybody. Linda speaks to herself when she's alone. She speaks to herself before she sleeps or before she goes to bed. Let's continue. When does he speak to himself? Robert speaks to himself when he's so happy. He speaks to himself when he's very sad. Daniel speaks to himself when he doesn't know what to do. Until then, see you soon on our 2 YouTube channels, House School Hassane, HSH, there is a mistake, English with Arabic translation, and House College Hassane, HCH, just English, in lesson 39. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit like for the video if you like the video, and if you like the content. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't subscribed yet, and activate the bell to get new videos. And please do us a favor by sharing this video with your family and friends and the people you know. Thank you so much. Goodbye and good luck.